Welcome in, folks. It's Playday number 2 of NACL. We are getting ready. Stage number 2. We've had a bit of action so far this weekend. We've kind of gotten an idea of what all these teams are all about. But today is where they really start to carve their paths that'll set them up for stage number 2 and possibly for the season. Of course, I'm your host, Brimstone, and I've got Cookies starting off with me and Forceful. Guys,
Other
I can
way.
never get this side thing right. Are you good with mirrors? Because I'm not like, is it mirrors or is it right side? Anyways, Forceful. This is a
No, it is.
huge
It's
day.
weird.
Lots of action. Tell us a bit about yesterday.
I mean, yesterday we had an absolute spectacular day coming out from a lot of these teams. A really big, pro league or challenger league debut coming out from the people such as Asian and Dexter,
Yeah.
who put up absolute monster kind of numbers, which we'll get to here in a second. And then just there's quite a bit of upsets. Like RentFree came in here and they showed they're not messing around. They took on the head team or one of the favorite teams of LSR,
Mhm.
and they made them look silly. They managed to pull out 3 points there. They went into their off-stream game. They took on Gaming Gladiators, made them look silly. And then there was other teams that we expected. We put a really high standard on, such as Aerial Rise, Luminosity. These are the top two teams from last stage. And yet they
Mhm.
were struggling out the gates. They had one
Yeah.
relegation win and then one game that wasn't really, going their way. And then going right into the standings here. Yeah, that's why the standings don't look like what you're expecting. Now, keep in mind, right? Really big caveat with this, right? It's play day one, right? There's a lot of siege left to play this stage. We don't want to sit there and start tying in storylines into like these players or into these the standings right now. That being said, couple key ones to point out. Like I said, RentFree got their 6 points, and they've got a healthy 3 point lead over teams like Aerial Rise and Luminosity, who lost in regulation. And another game I really want to point out here is that of Nocturnes. Nocturnes came out of the gate yesterday absolutely swinging. They were playing with their coach, who was Splash, right? And they're playing with two new players, so 3 players total. They looked great. And some of these teams, like such as Aerial Rise, Cookies. What did you think? Did you think Aerial Rise came in here and performed, or like what was your thoughts on that game?
Uh, I don't know what it is. Maybe when the lights get turned on, so Aerial Rise, they played off stream. They were nasty. But when the big lights came on, it just they peed down their leg a little bit. I don't know. Or maybe Nocturnes is just nasty. Maybe that's what happened, which is entirely possible. It's a totally different team, as you said. Coach Splash came in. They replaced like 3 players. It
Mm.
tends to make a big difference when you do that one way or the other. Clearly, it's in the positive direction for Nocturnes. That was the big one for me yesterday. Wow.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
it was obvious there were things to fix for Aerial Arise, but Nocturnes definitely blew our socks off. We were not expecting that kind of change in that team to come that early, especially with as many roster moves as they made. I think we have some of the player leaderboards here to show you the stats. One of the things that we were talking about yesterday, Forceful, as far as leaderboards go, we knew we were going to see it today, was the differential for Dexter on that entry. He was 7-1. And like I was saying, he could do nothing for the rest of the stage, and he'll probably just sit there at the top.
Yeah, he could pull a Rudy and just completely vanish for the rest of the stage, and we'll see him every single week, at the top of our leaderboards. Absolute monster performance. Like we're talking about a rookie performance. It's his first stage in CL. I didn't even hear about Dexter before CL quals, and he just come in and he's just an absolute tour de force. He's one of those guys that just grabs your attention and forces you to pay attention to him, because when he drops 18, there's not really much else to look at, and that was what he did yesterday on stream versus LSR. Absolute monster performance. And we got to highlight Asian too there a little bit too,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we'll talk about once we get into the rosters for the first match. The man dropped 31 kills in two matches. Like that's just insane. That's insane to me that a player is able to come in on their first day
A
and just
A1.
day one,
A1.
day one rookie. If you're a hockey fan, he's like a Connor McDavid, just comes in and just
Yeah.
a tour de force. If he can maintain that level of consistency this stage, I don't think we'll see him next stage keeping it frank. So I'm really looking forward to kind of, I don't want to take your job from you
Mhm.
here, Brim, but to go into this first game, because we have
Oh, but
both of
yeah,
these rookies
sure,
playing
sure.
each other.
I didn't
So,
want to be here. I had nothing to do today. Just
Yeah, I mean,
let's.
oh
Do you
man,
want it, Tanner? Then do you want to just throw to Cookies for me to talk about?
yeah, Cookies. Let's talk
Yeah.
about RentFree. How what do you think of this roster and the roster moves that they made? See, I could do your job. It's not that
Come
hard.
on, you're gonna put me out of a job.
yeah, you know who else is gonna put people out of jobs? Dexter. If he keeps playing like this, he's gonna get guys dropped. He's going dropping. What do you have? 1 billion kills yesterday, 18-8. He absolutely carried the torch for this team, which is kind of funny. I thought it would be Max personally. I'm a Max stan, and Dexter came in. He was playing off the XZ computer house, so whatever it's called. I actually believe there's a conspiracy. we saw Kino in the back, after the game during the interview. We sure it was Dexter? We sure? I don't know. That guy
I
came
mean,
out of nowhere. He dropped 18. I'll just say it anyway. Also, Adapt is also potentially coming back today. I'll talk about that more later with my critical points because they had Twist playing yesterday. He went 2-0, and now Adapt is going to make his debut today against a really tough LG roster.
also keep in mind that stat line along the bottom for Dexter. You were talking about all the stats that Asian racked up in 2 games. That was just 1 game Dexter played, and that was his stat line. Unbelievable. But yeah, let's talk a bit about Luminosity because, hey, they were 1-1. They had an impressive game and a less impressive game, but it looks like areas that they can fix up. But this roster is looking good.
Yeah, I would definitely say this roster had an improvement. I know they lost in regulation versus one shot and the pickups from Prod going onto the roster and Razor going on the roster. But that being said, it was a 7-4, but it didn't look like a 7-4. There was a lot of really close rounds. A lot of rounds came to a 1v1. The very last round was Swaylen clutching a 1v2. So they do look a lot better. That being said, everyone else got better too. So it's like they need to step up their game even further if they want to maintain this kind of level of consistency that they've had. They're going to need players like Asian to step up, and they're going to need the rest of their players to kind of also put themselves in a good position. You got Julian, Silent, Ferda, and Eddie. It can't be just the Asian show every game. We need them to step up too. This is a very frag heavy roster. RentFree is a very frag heavy roster. I'm really looking forward to this kind of clash between these two teams.
Mhm. Now, critical point time cookies, RentFree, obviously an impressive first day, but you don't, you want to carry through the momentum. You want to ride that high, but you also don't want to take it for granted.
Definitely. Taking it for granted. I love that you said that because, listen, if you watched the game yesterday, LSR rent-free, Dexter is just walking in, slapping people in the face, taking names, taking lunch money, and then buying like 2 milks with it. He was just doing whatever he wanted, and he was the bully of the lobby, okay? Thing is, no matter how good you are, and this counts for Asian too, for whoever, it's really hard to do that again and again and again. Even someone like Kenta who did, he had his 20 kill game too. What happens when he's off? Are we going to see, I don't know. I don't know who's going to step up for this team because it was really just a whole lot of Dexter. And then obviously others cleaning up. So let's see what happens if maybe Dexter meets his maker with LG and the fraggers on that team. And also, this is controversial, and I live for that. Twist went 2-0 yesterday. They dropped Twist. They said, Twist, get off this team. All right, we want Butters. And they got Butters, and Butters has been playing well. But what happens if Adapt? What if he leaves? What if Adapt leaves a 40-pound dump in his pants today and they choke and they lose against LG? Do they bring Twist back? I'm here for the controversy. I'm here for all that. And that's definitely all on the line here for RentFree. That's for sure.
Now, my question moving along from RentFree over to Luminosity is we're talking about, hey, when that number 1 guy, although they're the rookies, but apparently the front runners for number 1, between these 2 teams, correct me if I'm wrong, Tanner, but I think Luminosity has a better supporting staff that if your main guy isn't fragging, you have a better chance at these other guys picking up the pieces.
Absolutely. I don't want to discredit RentFree. There's still a new team. There's still a lot to see. I want to say, like, Filthy, he's been running T2 since he's been in it, and he's been in it a long time. He's come back multiple times, so I don't want to discredit them, but every single person on LG can shoot, and they could shoot, like, better than anyone else, it almost looks like. So I'm not too worried that if Asian has an off day or he has a slump day, which is expected in your rookie stage, anybody could pick it up. And that's what I'm kind of anticipating here. I kind of wanted to make this a critical point. It's Asian versus Dexter. It's a really good storyline. Which rookie is going to come out on top? Which one's going to show us their supremacy? But really, it's a team game at the end of the day. The biggest thing I need from LG, if they're going to look to have success, is it's going to be on their attacking half. They need to be prepared for the randomness and the individual plays that RentFree demonstrated that they like to do. And historically, previous iterations of this roster and other stages, they like these wrap plays. They like these hidden plays. Can they anticipate these jump outs? If they can stay guns up and set up their flanks, I think they're going to have a lot of success today.
I think, Cookies, would you say maybe relying on randomosity or chaosity? Would that be something that Luminosity might need?
I hate how we're making this a word.
So we just making our words now, huh?
Wait, you're making fun of me? You're the
yeah. It's
I'm
your
just
word.
following your lead. It's your word.
Okay, well, let's talk some mapology here.
Mapology. Okay.
Let's talk some geography here.
Oh, that's
Skyscraper
boring. That's too straightforward.
or whatever it's called. Anyway, Skyscraper is a good map for both of these teams, actually. LG showed at points last stage. They can play it. Obviously, RentFree went through to Challenge League off of Skyscraper in the relegation game. So strong map for both of them. Chalet, I would say, also is a strong map for both of them. And Forceful, I actually want to pick your brain on this because you got really, spoiler, we know the map. Okay, I don't mean to leak the script, but we know the map. But Forceful, you were like losing your mind. You were so excited.
Absolutely.
The prospect of this map here.
Well, this was a permaban for LG stage 1, right? And so was Theme Park, which also went to the side. Now, it did get banned. It might still be a permaban. But that being said, this is kind of a telltale sign that this team has, in fact, improved their map pool. And I just wanted to talk about RentFree for a little bit, too, because I watched them throughout the CL quals. I believe they played 7 of the 9 maps in CL quals. Bank wasn't even one of them. So now that they're willing to go to Bank, it's just like, what map can't this team go to? I'm very impressed so far with the debut coming out from RentFree. And the fact that they're willing to go to any of these maps and they're like, you know what, we'll take you wherever you want to go. And they are coming out and they still have 6 points. You got to give them credit where credit's due. That was an absolute spectacular performance yesterday. Really looking forward to seeing how they perform on this map.
Cookies, do you think there's a chance how we're seeing maps that we haven't really seen from teams? Now, this might be just a small part, but my question is, we have a stage here where there's not just one, but 2 new operators that are coming in because of the rule changes, where you can use a zombie from last season and now immediately sends as well. Do you think maybe that's part of the reason why these teams are willing to go to maps that they don't normally go to? Because there's so much up in the air right now. You might as well try to catch people off guard.
Of course, I think that could be part of it. The zombie, especially, you can like Fortnite build whatever you want and rebuild the maps in a way that favors you. Literally live in the moment, like a live update, live service video game. But you know what? I also want to say it's just part of the Lamicki factor is oozing out of Challenger League. RentFree is not a team, and we've rode Filthy enough at this point. He's the GOAT of T2, and we know
T2 master.
We know that he knows what it takes to win at this level. I've said the same thing about guys like Bio. All those guys have kind of trickled into CL now, and you're seeing that with like more teams willing to play like maps and like not just play the same 2 maps over. CL isn't Mickey Mouse anymore overall, and I think we're seeing that in the map bans today and in this matchup right here.
Well, what we'll quickly do, I know the players are dying to get into this one. We'll throw up the predictions. Tanner, give us a quick prediction overall between these 2 teams, win or lose, right before we get into it.
So I think this could go either way. I know it seems to be like I'm set on RentFree, but LG cannot ever count this team out. It's a very strong
tough one.
This was a very tough one. I ultimately went with RentFree just because of the unknown factor of what they're going. I really liked what I saw from the side of Dexter. Filthy has won Challenger League twice, right? He's relegated 2 different Pro League teams, so that's twice. Like, there's no other person that has done that in North America as far as I'm aware. Maybe Drip, I think Drip might have done it. But that being said, like, that team, that brings a lot of randomness to this, random factors to this game. And I wasn't really expecting, RentFree to come out and be as dominant as they were, and they showed up yesterday. So that's why they have my vote.
Well, right now we're going to go to Bank. Let the randomosity and the chaosity ensue.
Well, Jim, like you said, the players are dying to get into this game, and Jonah, I think it's safe to say so are we. After such a brilliant performance yesterday, RentFree, Dexter came out of the gate swinging. Filthy and Butters had a hell of a day as well. Over on Luminosity, we still have Asian dropping 31 kills between 2 maps. Ferda, still very consistent. Eddie and Silent, consistent as well. This is going to be hell in a cell.
Yeah, this one should be pretty fun because Bank as well is a little bit unexpected for both of these teams to go, right? It's not something we've seen from Luminosity much in the past, and RentFree, I mean, so much is new about this roster. There is a complete unknown in the way that they are going to play this as well. Like our analyst mentioned, we've got the 2 new operators in the mix. First time we're seeing Bank. So, I mean, this could go really either way. Our predictions were split, and I think that really encompasses exactly how we're all feeling about this one. And 2 unique bans to come right off rip here, both the Osa and the Knock, of course, also keeping things spicy here, Harrison.
Yeah, Nook being a ban that, if she's ever banned, it's typically on this map. You've got late garage flanks. You've got late main stairs flanks when taking top floor. There's a lot of areas where you can utilize the Nook for a very sneaky attacking play. you know, the map is huge. Bank is one of the biggest maps in the pool, and that lends itself a lot to roamers on the defense, but also people like Nook on the attack. Osa is likely more of a direct target ban because we know just how much LG likes this operator, especially on Oregon, especially on Bank, where there's, again, those long lines of sight that you can hold using those transparent shields. Valkyrie, very standard on this map. However, Aruni is not, and I don't really know if that's a target ban like the Osa is, or if that's just a general ban from RentFree.
Right, we'll have to see exactly, you know, how these teams work around the rest of these operators, one of which is Azami. I mean, Harrison, in both of the games we got to cast yesterday, we actually saw Azami banned on the defensive side pretty consistently, so it'll be good to see her brought out right away by Dexter as RentFree start things off on the defense. But bringing up that point you mentioned about Osa just a moment ago, I really do think that that ban makes a lot of sense because those shields can be incredibly powerful if you think about the way that a lot of NAL teams have been getting the plant down below in, you know, CCTV, trying to get that rush plant, even upstairs in the CEO, getting a shield maybe to cut off that main stairs position, all of those different angles that the attackers will now have to hold the old-fashioned way. And they're going to have to contend against the Kiba barriers of the Azami. We can see Dexter already setting up a handful. One of those up top in paper as an additional piece of cover for Dexter to rotate through this rotation that he's made.
The thing I love about Azami, and one of the reasons why I was really disappointed we didn't see it yesterday, and then really thankful we're seeing it in this matchup in particular, is because Azami is not like, you know, she's one of those operators that affects the map rather than the players. I know a lot of people were saying how much they liked Mira because of that, but unlike Mira, she's not played around a setup nearly as much. Of course, you do have your default Azami setups, you know, in the beginning of the round, but after that, she is played extremely reactively, and we know how reactive these two teams can be. Case in point, Filthy tries to hunt down the top floor clearer. Silent just sits there and lets Filthy walk into his line of sight, but Dexter's there for the follow-up, and it ends up being an even trade. A Lesion early in the round for a Finka. I'd say that's pretty even.
But a surprising early scuffle, right? You don't usually see the defense just actively hunting the player on the attacking side who's trying to clear out the map. It's generally a pretty risky strategy, but thankfully for RentFree, you have Dexter, who, like we've already mentioned, is an incredible fragger from what we've seen yesterday and was immediately there for the trade. This time he'll actually get a pretty direct trade as he catches one onto Eddie as he drops down the hatch, but Kixro with a quick trade right back keeps us even. So a lot of back and forth early engagements here, despite being early into the round. About 2 minutes have transpired now, with Luminosity now building the pressure on the site below. The hatch into CCTV now opened up, and that's exactly where RentFree are going to have to keep an eye on.
Just under a minute remaining in the round. RentFree's roamers doing their job, you know, wasting about 2 minutes, going 2 for 2. Can't really ask much more. But the concerning thing for LG is that there is still a smoke with full utility. There is still an Echo who could possibly have one yokai left. We saw one get shot towards the main stairs. Hopefully he's still got one more in his back pocket. The default wall now being opened by Kixro because there was so much dedicated to that roam. A lot of those hatches were pre-opened. Didn't need to waste any of his hard breach on those. Utility going to start coming in from Kixro as well to make way for EMPs as Ferda will pop one. Follow up with another. No gas canister to answer. Maybe that's what it was used to stop the gas canisters being thrown out, as well as those yokais. Twist will try for it, and he misses. It's way too late. Kixro gets it down. It's a 3 versus 3 with the vertical superiority in the favor of LG. RentFree need to retake. Twist nearly gets caught by Asian, but the Iana can't land enough shots. Now they know he's watching the hatch. Maxily, a very long retake all the way upstairs as Echo, the 3 armor, likely been heard dropping. He makes a ton of noise, and there's Asian ready for the cutoff. Ferda follows it up. Twist with one singular refrag, but the time is low, the HP is low, and things are ever in his disadvantage. He'll try sticking this, but all Kixro has to do is drop. As Twist gets off to try for the kill, he runs out of time anyway. Kixro just cleans it up, and the first round goes the way of LG.
You know, peculiar end to that round because we saw so many of those early engagements, and yet both teams didn't find a single frag when it actually came to getting that bomb down. It was a 3v3 when we were around that minute 15 mark. Teams began that execute right RentFree. Instead of opting to direct counter and actually take those gunfights, they ended up allowing the bomb to go down, choosing to play retake instead. And that kind of decision, well, it's risky, especially in Siege, where retakes are so hard to do well, especially when you already have limited defensive prowess with only 3 of those players remaining. You've lost Dexter, you've lost I think Filthy, who was on the top floor early. You've lost a lot of that fragging potential, and it's just going to come down to a well-placed post plant from Luminosity. So an opening round for them that they're going to be happy to secure.
And a very creative use of the EMPs as well. That's something I really want to highlight going into that execute. Ferda's use of Thatcher. So he saves all 3. His first gas canister goes out, you know, they let it dissipate. He chucks all the EMPs in. That does 3 things. 1, sound coverage for the case. You could see Twist maybe not very aware it was going down. 2nd, disables any yokais that could possibly be placed in lockers, which is where they usually sit, right? Like right under that crevice in the desk to try and be protected. EMP disables that. 3, if the EMPs are going off back to back, you know, RentFree are probably thinking, okay, something's up. But because they're going off back to back, Twist cannot safely throw in a gas canister because the EMP will disable them, and if it ends up disabling the gas canister, he can't throw another one out for another like 10 seconds because you can't throw 2 out at the same time without the previous one detonating. So really smart play from LG. I love their use of that Thatcher.
Ooh, Dexter taking a bit of damage here though as he continues this roam on the top floor. Looks like that was Ferda who was on the rappel, just sending a couple of bullets his way. And Silent, again, trying to get that early pick, trying to work that roam clear from the other side. The difference is that he's the first to fall, and it's Filthy to claim his life. Dexter and Filthy still holding this position, not willing to give up this top floor for free. These Kiva barriers now starting to get destroyed, but guess what? Dexter has more in pocket. With the Kiva barrier protecting him, unfortunately, he exposes himself to the other angle as Eddie works his way in, and that kill is found. Filthy has also been dealt with a moment ago. So just like that, Luminosity have turned an opening death into 2 opening kills right back.
And with Filthy going down, Dexter didn't have much support upstairs. That means so many of his angles are left uncovered. Luminosity can slowly start to trickle in and suffocate him. They'll allow the Castle of Butters to get away back down through the hatch, and we're in a very similar situation as we were in the previous round. And there it is now. It's almost the exact situation we had with Twist, putting us into an even 3-on-3. The only difference is that instead of Eddie being dead, it's Asian. Otherwise, you've got Twist with those 3 gas canisters, Maxily with those yokai drones, and Butters sitting on the site. Hatches, of course, being left soft because of that extended roam as Kicksrow goes ahead and opens that main hatch. He'll follow up by going downstairs, opening the default wall. We'll probably see a very similar execute to what we saw last time.
Yeah, gearing up for the same approach and doing it as methodically as ever. Just sending as many of those drones they have remaining. 7 drones is a really good place to be with only 30 seconds left. Using that to get intel, but they've got some intel countering this push as well because you've got Maxily still alive, still with those yokai drones to deny this eventual push. Butters actually steps up and takes down Eddie the Buck, who is probably getting aggressive on a hatch, just trying to provide the coverage as Kicksrow begins to step up. He'll swing in and take the fight, but gassed out, drunk from the yokais and forced to move. It's all crumbling apart for Luminosity here. Butters will take him down. Ferda last alive with no time to get anything done. Gets an exit frag, but the time expires and RentFree take round 2.
And what was the big change in that round? The kill from Butters. That and the EMPs didn't go out quite early enough. Luminosity didn't have as much time as they had previously. I actually didn't even notice that there was a bulletproof there in the previous round. If it was there, then that's a 4th thing that those EMPs did. And because the kill from Butters was there on Eddie, they had no more vertical support. Luminosity have to kind of try and force themselves in, but they're both coming from the same direction. It's pretty easy for RentFree to buff that back. And that's really all they needed, was that 1 kill on Eddie. Super unfortunate for LG that they lose a man in a situation like that, but it does tie the score 1-1. Now we swap to Open Area, a site whose prominence has been a lot more, much increased from what we've seen in the past. I remember Open Area like started to get a little more traction before the map was removed, and then as soon as the remake came out, it's probably a secondary site. A lot of people tend to favor it sometimes even more than they do top floor, much in part to the fact that there is no hatch in smack dab in the middle of the room. Thank you, Mr. Observer, Mr. Nova, for highlighting that there is no more hatch in the hallway. Just the one in Janitor and just the one in Stock. So it makes the site a lot easier to play in as a defender, where before it was impossible. Plus, with this roam upstairs, as always, it takes a lot of time for the attackers to fully catch up.
Oh, we can see Luminosity, though. They are trying to get a quick clear of this top floor done. Asian is already whipping out that Gone 6 and trying to deal with some utility on this top floor. Again, they're going to have to deal with Dexter, those Kiva barriers. They're going to likely have to deal with one or two other roamers just trying to stall out this entry from Luminosity as much as they can. We've seen this generally go the favor of Luminosity. Even though they've lost a body both times, they have come out on top in terms of these top floor clears. Early engagement, though, heavily favors the defense as Dexter tears Asian apart. A Finka boost just barely saving his life as he goes prone and tries to avoid this engagement by waiting for some support from one of his teammates.
You can see Asian was acting off of a ping, but unfortunately for him, the info was stale. Dexter firing at one of his teammates ends up cutting down Asian in the crossfire. Silence there for the refrag, though. We end up going 1-1. Losing Dexter, though, probably a little more punishing. Sure, Asian has a whole lot of utility in his pocket, but you lose all those Kiva barriers. But Filthy comes out of nowhere. LG don't have the info. He cuts down Eddie, but silence there for yet another trade. We end up 3-3 in the first, or in the third round in a row. These two teams can't seem to shake each other when it comes to the early round. Kixtro takes a scuffle with Maxley. Both players miss all their shots. Now LG have to figure out what they want to do as the attack slows down.
Right, once again, we have reached almost the identical position that we've seen in both round 1 and round 2. We're a 3v3 just around the 1 minute mark. The first time Luminosity were able to transition this pretty easily down to the site, but the second time it was Butters on the castle who made his impact felt. This time it's not Butters, instead it is Maxley who finds the next kill. That one removing Furta from play, leaving Silent and Kixtro to do the rest of the work themselves. Silent taking a bit of damage as well, stuck in a pretty uncomfortable spot and doesn't have the immediate support from Kixtro either to guarantee his safety. The ace will work his way down main stairs in an effort to provide some support, but he is walking himself into a crossfire held by the Jaeger of Maxley and the Castle of Twist. It's actually Maxley who ends up claiming that kill, and Silent, now stuck on the other side of the map without the diffuser in pocket, has very few options, if not no options at this point. 5 seconds remain, and he isn't even able to find this one kill as it stares him in the face. Has to reload that LMG, and Twist will finish him off. LG, once again, cannot bring that top floor clear into a successful execute.
And you gotta wonder, where the hell is the communication for LG? So, first of all, poor info game on the top floor. Asian got screwed over by stale info. They had no idea Filthy was there for a follow-up. They end up losing 2. Trading 2 back that could have very well been free. Then you go downstairs. Kixtro takes an early scuffle with Maxley. Should have called out, hey, there's a guy behind the desk. And then while Silent and Kix are clearing from the main stairs top floor side of things, Furta decides to pull a crouch walk, take the 1v1 against Maxley, and lose it. Then after that, Silent tries battling. He gets lit up by Maxley. And despite calling out probably again that, hey, guys, this guy is still behind the teller's desk, Kixtro walks down main stairs and doesn't even bother checking the interior of tellers where Maxley could have easily rotated. The communication, obviously, and the info, obviously not there for Luminosity in that previous round. It's something that did strike a couple times yesterday, especially in their game against One Shot. Seemed like a couple of the issues were better in their follow-up game, but here it's been rough through their first couple losses.
Well, Luminosity, in terms of these transitions they've been struggling with. I mean, it really has come down to, and what feels like a lack of manpower, right? Even though we're in that even 3v3 come the 1 minute mark, now that we've been in that identical situation 3 rounds in a row, the difference is that as an attacking team, it is a lot more difficult to take that control with fewer bodies, limited utility, when the final 3 defenders can sit back and wait for you. That's what's happened in these last 2 rounds. Luminosity have not been able to move in with that efficiency, and when they eventually decide on pushing from a particular position, RentFree just catch them off guard and take them down 1 by 1. That's what Luminosity have to change here. And they're going to be splitting their force early, trying to approach from several different positions, right? You've got an entry over by the main lobby area, but at the same time, you've got some players like Eddie, like Ferda, who are working their way around to these windows to open up the site, expose some angles here, and maybe catch out a couple of opening picks.
Ferda's utility will go out, and he'll destroy the castle barricades on the double windows, but Dexter finds the opening pick onto Asian. I don't know where Asian was. We have a death marker anywhere? Was he out? Was he the guy outside? I don't know. I don't know where Asian was, but I digress. He's dead now, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Dexter gets the first pick, just like we saw in his debut game. He is an entry machine. Silent gets a follow-up. Late trade onto Butters, knocking the Maestro off the board. That's a decent pick, but remember, there's a Maestro change. You can now control those Evil Eyes with any player. It's not just the Maestro that can move them. Twist, now kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, hugging this soft wall. He knows there's a man on Repel, and he'll catch the side of Ferda, lighting up the Zofia quite a bit, and being able to escape, if just narrowly. Kixro finds Maxley, the Wamai off the board. Twist as a follow-up from Kixro. 2 kills for the ace to bring the man count squarely in his team's favor, but here's Dexter on the flank. He drops Kixro, he drops Case. Silent will try to chase, but no, the Azami gets away. Eddie's attempt fails as well. Only 20 seconds remaining. At least they'll recover Case. They know there's only 1 on site. Ferda will deal with him, and they can start getting this plant down. Dexter's got a couple pings, but I don't believe it's on the planter. Eddie's almost got it. Only 1 second remaining. Dexter cannot influence the plant attempt, though he will kill Ferda, one of the covers. Just Eddie and Silent to find. It's a post plant on CEO. If they get out of the building, it is nearly impossible to win, but they're not in a position to. One is stuck inside site. Seems like the other is just outside elevator. He's got more pings. He knows one is behind bomb chassis, but Eddie has backed far off. Both he and Silent playing with each other. Very smart from LG, making sure that they have the trade ability. Dexter gets the drop on Eddie, but loses the fight, and LG tie us 2-2.
Well, the big difference maker there, I mean, obviously Kixro with 2 awesome early kills, but Ferda, a very critical kill on the site right as Dexter pulled off what could have been a game-changing flank. Because when that flank happened and Dexter was able to get that kill, he immediately dropped away to go for the rotate. That encouraged Luminosity to hunt him down. We saw both Eddie and Silent drop down from the balcony, chase Dexter away. But what that did is all of a sudden Ferda, who had the support of 2 teammates up above, was now alone. There were 20 seconds left. It was a 1v1 on site with Dexter rotating around and 2 of those attackers down below. If Ferda had lost that engagement, it would have been a challenging retake for those attackers to then get into the site that would have had 2 defenders at that point with so limited time remaining. But because Ferda was able to get that kill, isolate Dexter, they knew his position was off the site, then they could get the bomb down. Just those small engagements in Siege that if it had gone the other way, we could have been looking at a different result.
Speaking of different, Jonah, Monty IQ 0.
Wow.
So, clearly, a dirt direct from Luminosity. They've got drones. They know server is clear. They've got the thermite to open the default walls, and they'll likely try to utilize this Monty to get a plant down. Eddie obviously bringing that IQ because Echo has some staying power in this match. We'll go ahead and set up the drone. Eddie will likely spot it very soon. There's nothing going to stop these breaches. So, you know, again, as soon as they get the call, Kixer will be able to move in. That's a nice nade, but it does not destroy the shield. Does not hit the intended target. Bit of a waste of utility there as Kixer now opens that wall.
And not the start that Luminosity were looking for, but given this direct approach, they've got the Monty, and given this already early focus into getting these walls open, I don't think they mind too much about the 15 seconds here or there that they're going to waste. They're already in a position where they can execute on this site. But like you said, Harrison, Dexter, he could be the game changer here. Up above, keeping an eye on a potential drop down from that square skylight or that walk-in upstairs. But right now, he may have to turn his attention to the site below, because here comes Ferda, finally indicating that, hey, it is time for Luminosity to make that push. He'll draw out 2 of those toxic smokes. One of those remains in the pocket of Twist to deny this push, but Eddie finding that kill onto Filthy, that is going to seriously stick RentFree into a troubling spot. Butters gets one back onto Kickstro, removing the thermite and dropping the case, but Dexter isolated up above in that 1v1. If he loses that gunfight, this execute from Luminosity, it is only moments away.
That gunfight might decide this whole round, but there it is. Dexter dead to Asian, who has been upstairs with his own 0 cams this whole entire round, making sure that a flank is not possible with all 4 of his teammates trying for a site direct. But these yokais doing a lot of work, keeping the Monty at bay with case drop. That means Eddie is going to have to go ahead and pick it up. And there's 1 gas canister left for Twist to make an impact with. Asian, knowing that his job as flank watch is done, looks to make a move down the main stairs. The default cam was up, so his position has been spotted. It'll probably be Maxley's job to try and keep at bay. There's only 30 seconds now for Luminosity to make something happen. They'll open up that main hatch. They've now got the vertical support that they were looking for. Yokai down as well. Monty comes in. Eddie plants behind. Gas canister goes out. Eddie's just gonna stick. He has enough HP to do it. He gets it down. Twist follows up with a team kill while trying to clean. And it's a 3 versus 2 post plant. The Monty play works. The yokais are down. Even a 0 cam right in the middle of the hallway, calling out all the info, likely calling that both Twist and Maxley are rotating upstairs. Nobody from LG engaging just yet, except for Asian. He's stuck with the pinch. He'll get 1, not the second Maxley trades, but still a 1v2, 20 seconds left against a Monty. This is near unwinnable. Silent is far afield. He'll finally come down to support, and LG take the round.
LG take it because of really good patience. Maybe not the entire round, but there was a moment where it got a little bit dicey. We were around that minute 30 mark. And from the minute 30 mark to about 30 seconds remaining, almost nothing changed for that entire 60 seconds. Luminosity were sitting back, hoping that RentFree would swing into them and take those fights, but RentFree were staying disciplined, using the IQ, and this is what changed the round, using the IQ scanner. Those yokai drones were identified. They knew that they couldn't take those yokais down with any nades because they were out of nades. They didn't have an angle from the main breach to take out those yokais, but they knew that they could not win the round without taking care of those first. So they wait. They wait for Asian, who had gotten that kill onto Dexter earlier, to work his way all the way around the map, open the hatch in open area, and take down the yokai drones from above. That was the crucial moment. Had Asian died in that battle with Dexter, those yokai drones, they stay up. Had Asian been a little bit too late to that hatch, those yokai drones stay up. And with those yokais in play, the bomb would not have gone down. The Monty could not have stayed protected. Very different result right there.
Yeah, you gotta give it up to Asian playing, even though we think of him as your classic first in the building entry along with Silent playing off each other, he can also, play that kind of entry style as Kento, where he'll take initial map control and then post up like a statue and watch that flank. That almost that entire execute hinged on making sure that Asian was up there and that no one could flank site executor. So well done to Asian, well done to the entirety of Luminosity. Eddie as well, making the call to stick that plant through the gas. If he falls back on that, that gives more time to RentFree. That bleeds more time off the clock. That could be a very different round. So everyone on Luminosity really having a highlight and showing, just how much they've progressed from when they were two-faced or even just last stage.
Dexter with a bit of a unique keep a barrier setup here. Not the same thing we've seen him rocking with every single round so far. Instead of putting all the focus in paper and just trying to lock out that crossfire from CEO, instead, these barriers are just at these double windows, and even a nade thrown at them won't do the damage. Finally, they'll get dealt with as a second nade has to be wasted in that position, but all 3 Kiba barriers now gone. Dexter will have to wait and really just play this one with his gun if he wants to win it out instead. But still, slowing down Luminosity. That's the goal with his setup, and so far it's worked.
A minute and a half bled off the clock. As LG now finally get everyone from the top floor back either down to site or below it, with Filthy in the basement. Asian spotting him on the drone, though, as the Iana is actually in dirt, very separated from the rest of his team, but he will quickly get out of there. Maybe just providing a distractionary measure. Ferda with the lead-off kill. Maxley, who had run rampant behind that teller's desk, doing fantastic work, getting almost 3 kills in that position, is first blood. Ferda will fell him. Now you no longer have someone behind that teller's desk. And now that big player that caused such a harrowing miscommunication from LG in that initial round is no longer there. And their Buck is free to open up his floor. That flushes a lot of these defenders back. It forces them away from the main hatch towards Janitor, where that hatch is open as well. With 25 seconds left, Luminosity are getting ready to execute.
They're getting ready, but they've got to make the move soon because, like you said, we are just about to hit 15 seconds, and they have not dealt with all of these threats that are positioned off-site. Filthy will collect a kill onto Asian again because he goes unnoticed, and Luminosity, they're just going to have to commit to this push and leave Asian to his own right. Ferda drops in and collects a triple kill, and now Kickstro sticking this plant, but here comes the Maestro cam. Denied as Silent cleans him up. A last-second sprint into the site, and it basically looked like a miracle for them to pull that one out, but a flurry of gunfights goes their way.
That was... wow. That was so close. Luminosity really pull it out from the skin of by the skin of their teeth. I mean, they have the opening pick on Maxley, sure, but with Asian going down in that main hallway to Filthy, Filthy's able to get away. I think he died trying to come back up main, and there was someone watching him. That hatch drop, very dangerous. I'm shocked that Dexter didn't get a kill off of that. I thought as soon as I saw the man holding that hatch was Dexter, I was like, oh, round might as well be over. There's no way they're getting through that. And yet Dexter misses just a couple crucial shots, ends up dying instead. Plant starts going down, but then we see the Evil Eye. It starts tagging up the planter. It looks like they might win off that because the planter has to stick. But Silent just narrowly spots the toes of the Maestro sticking out from that chair. Make sure the round doesn't get out of their control. Beautiful cleanup from LG. I'm sure there's a lot that they would change, given the opportunity. But in the end, they clutch it out. And it's a 4-2 half, Jonah. On your bank attack, that's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the standard quite yet, but it's definitely not unexpected.
Well, it's really good, especially because they began not as good, right? It was through 3 rounds. RentFree had 2 of them. They were looking like they were cleaning up the defensive side, and Luminosity just couldn't get a foothold on the map. But the biggest thing was they finally found a way to reel in Dexter and limit that early frag potential that he was providing. I think Dexter got all of his 6 kills, and you can check me on this, Harrison. I think all 6 of those kills came through the 3 rounds. I don't think he's found a kill since then, at least through rounds 5 and 6, but round 4 is the one I'm not quite sure of. Either way, right? He's cooled off. Right. Yeah, he's cooled off a significant amount, and while that's obviously not the sole reason why RentFree haven't found a round since then, there's definitely something that can be said to your fragger not fragging as much.
Especially with teams like RentFree and LG, if you don't have some sort of consistent fragging force, then you look pretty limp. Hopefully RentFree are able to, flip the script on attack. Dexter now donning the Jackal, again, knowing how much LG liked to roam, just as they did. Jackal helps expedite that roam clear. Pretty much everyone has fallen back, with the exception of Asian. He'll spot a drone, take it out, and fall back. 7 drones left with a minute and a half. That is pretty decent drone economy here for RentFree. They've got plenty left to go into the site. There's plenty of delay from Luminosity. They don't have an Echo, but they do have 3 smoke canisters. They do have a Goyo and 2 C4s. So there is a lot of utility to try and stop that plan.
But the difference is, right, I mean, especially comparing the RentFree attacks, the Luminosity attacks, RentFree have a lot more time and a lot more bodies to make this happen. Every time that Luminosity tried to go for this execute, it was down to a 3v3. This is a 5v5, not a drop of blood spilled on either team, building up to the eventual conclusion of this round. It's going to be an explosive one, that's for sure. First job, though, RentFree have to deal with some of this utility, those Vulcan canisters for one. One of those that was blocking the main doorway here will be popped, and we'll see that fire dissipate as a result in just a moment. But they're getting these breaches open, and they're situating themselves well for the execute that's coming in the next few seconds. First blood, though, finally found. It's Filthy onto Asian.
Asian goes down, but most of those goo mines are probably out by now. Big C4 from Ferda, follow up by Kickthrow, even man count, 3 apiece, but the attackers are barreling through sight. They don't have the case. Butters didn't pick it up. Filthy will end up getting a triple before being shut down. The Finka doesn't spot Ferda. It's a 1v2, and the case being dropped ends up losing them the round. Maxily has to stick. It's an easy cleanup. He'll get off the case, save the KD, and Luminosity go up 5-2.
Well, that right there was chaotic. We knew it was coming, Harrison, because it was a 5v5 with about 30 seconds to go. But what we didn't expect, at least what I didn't expect, is for RentFree to lose their heads a little bit. It was chaotic, yes, but often in situations like that, we're going to see the attacking team throw the smokes and just commit to a certain position or commit to a certain play. And while it looked like they were going to go for the bomb down initially, try to get that plant on the floor, all of a sudden they changed it up. With those smokes to cover, they just committed to a full push through the site, hoping to catch Luminosity off guard and use that as a bit of a distraction. When what ended up happening was Luminosity was not caught off guard. They were patient enough. They had their communication on point, and they backed off. They said, wait a second, guys. RentFree are sending it all the way through. Back off. Play more passive angles. Don't let them get those kills.
And not only that, but the case was dropped mid-site, I think, thanks to the C4 from Ferda. Which might be what prompted that whole rush through, like with the smokes. Sometimes, you put down the smokes, you get up close to the wall and try and plant. The C4 stopped that, and that's what, forced RentFree to try and commit. The case was dropped in the middle of sight. Butters went back to get it. Like, he was running through sight and then was like, oh, I gotta grab case. Went back to grab case, and then didn't. I don't know if maybe he didn't hold the button down long enough, because now, you have to hold a button to pick up the case. Maybe he changed his mind, but either way, instead of trying to get that plant down or, just picking up case and trusting his teammates to cover, he pushed on through. And I guess Luminosity knew that case was denied, because they never heard any prompt after that. All they had to do was sit back and relax while RentFree went for the bum rush and went for the desperation kills. Really, really weird round. Luminosity end up getting a 5-2 advantage. Perfect time for RentFree to take a tactical timeout, because they're down 3 rounds. Luminosity have a whole 3-site rotation buffer between them and their opponents, and they're only 2 rounds away from winning. They'll go on to open area with, again, a very roam-heavy setup, but they have the Pulse this time for added info, and we'll see LG's a zombie for the first time.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to see how Eddie chooses to set up his top floor Kiva barriers, if we're going to see him mirror the setup of Dexter, or if he's going to pull something out of his own. We have seen those Kiva barriers now thrown. We've got one on a pillar out on that balcony to give Eddie additional coverage from anybody on those main lobby rappels. Several different angles that those attackers could be approaching from, so Eddie just saying that I guess it's better to have more of those angles covered. You don't have to throw those Kiva barriers directly in the face of the attackers if you can sit back and use that protection as a nice stronghold. You will take up this position, though, in Janitor, the same position that we saw RentFree doing on their defense, but now out in the open, forced to take these fights and winning them. That's Dexter, the man himself, who's been quiet for 4 rounds, continuing to stay in that slump. Another player around the corner, though, Maxley is the one next to challenge onto Eddie, but he's yet to actually take this space. A little nervous to actually take this fight without support from his teammates, but here they come. Everyone trying to force Eddie out, but they can't do it. Maxley goes away. Filthy now tries to force his way in, but cannot. And finally, Eddie has been dealt with by Twist, but at what cost?
The cost, Jonah, being 3 deaths. Massive loss for RentFree. I thought when we saw Dexter, you know, creeping up the main staircase, there was a goo mine in his way, which was supposed to be what, you know, alerts Eddie to his position, but he ends up skating past it. We saw Dexter's silhouette in that hallway and Eddie start to peek out. I thought he was a dead man, but he lands a beautiful shot, domes him, gets the follow-up on Maxley. Silent has his back, and all of a sudden, LG, massive advantage in the round. Silent checking the heartbeat sensor. Don't know if he's aware of Butter's location, as he and Twist are very split up, each on the opposite side of Square. But no, he's not. There's our answer. Butters shoots Silent in the back to bring us to a 1-man advantage for LG. Everyone staying stalwart in the bomb site itself. Ferda slowly recharging those magnets to stop Butters from using his last remaining nade to any effectiveness. Asian peeking just over the ace holes, looking to see if Twist is a little too lackadaisical. Only 27 seconds now. RentFree are going to be forced to push on in. Try and go through the small office, but hitting a goo mine will alert Asian of their location. Looking to maybe send out another, but no, he just takes the gunfight, wins 1, Twist trades, but Kixrow has Asian's back, and LG 6-2, they're on match point.
Yeah, they're on match point thanks to an excellent top floor hold. And even though that was only about a minute of the round and the next 2 minutes were dedicated to pushing the site, the damage to that RentFree attack had already been done. It was already over at that point because RentFree got decimated as they tried to clear up top. The power of those Kiba barriers of a fragger like Eddie on full display. Not only that, but there was some support that Luminosity decided to add to Eddie's position. They didn't leave him out to dry. They had people keeping an eye on those flanks. They had people getting involved if they needed to. And RentFree just walked their way into a setup and into Luminosity's open arms, something they've got to be careful of for these next 4 rounds if they want to make a comeback and squeak out overtime. But Luminosity have 4 chances, a 4-round cushion to put this game away.
Yeah, it's a pretty big advantage. RentFree, we're going to try and take a page out of LG's book. It's Maxley on Monty. Never mind. I was about to say, not an operator that he's typically synonymous with, but I lied. He went back to Jack. I guess they figured, you know, if it was... Actually, I don't really know what they figured. Because Monty's not great on CEO either, so it's not like they saw the site and were like, oh, it's not the site we expected. So, I don't really know why they were about to bring the Monty, but they're not anymore. Ferda takes just a little bit of damage, but it's fairly inconsequential. We've got another mean top floor hold from LG. And if RentFree struggled that much against just Eddie, how hard is it going to be when Eddie's got friends?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure. A much easier battle if Eddie is on 1 HP or nearly there, as he will after a quick engagement with Butters on the window. Surprising to see Eddie take that fight given the Kiva barriers that we've seen him set up. It looks like he's just trying to avoid getting spotted out from those windows, but no. Aggressive, eager to take fights, clearly feeling confident and getting punished for it. Asian falls as well as Maxley takes his life, so a complete 180 from the last round. Instead of Luminosity holding down this top floor and tearing apart RentFree, well, it is Luminosity getting a bit too big for their britches and falling down as a result.
And that's kind of the danger of roaming on that side of the top floor, right? Because before Eddie was towards Janitor, he was fairly safe from all of those rappel angles by main lobby, because those can be hell to try and deal with. Unfortunately, that's exactly what he was exposed to this time. Just couldn't account for every angle, and he falls. I'm not quite sure where Asian died, but it does give a 5-3 lead for RentFree in this round. Jackal Tracks coming out, I believe, spotting Kixrow on the marble stairs down towards the basement. RentFree continue towards main lobby. Dealt with a lot of that utility. Of course, this is where the site is this time. It's not an extension. Site is Archives Tellers. No one on the defense is actually in the site proper. Ferda was in small office, but he'll be flushed out. Kixro looking to take this fight, will miss his shots, but get the follow-up on Maxily. And the only other player Silent before we saw is in open area. So the site is pretty ripe for the taking.
Ripe for the taking, yes, but Kixro is still applying enough pressure from the crossfire in an attempt to slow down this execute. It's working in a big way. He's able to collect 2 kills now. That one on to Dexter, but Filthy, here he goes. Now trying to get this bomb down while Kixro finds himself in a load of bullets. Ferda is eventually finished off by Butters, and with Kixro at 1 HP, really this is going to come on the shoulders of Silent to see if he can pull off a miracle retake. Kixro sneaking around the other side is now the last player standing, and with 3 practically full HP attackers in his way, not looking good. Strong execute there from RentFree. They knew they didn't have to work their way in too much. They didn't have to clear out too much of that map. Once that top floor was secure, it was all about just getting that execute done, and they did it.
Yeah, Kixro hit some beautiful shots, but at the end, it was not enough. Really good top take from RentFree. Just transitioning down into a classic attack. Not a lot to say about it. LG, we're way too far afield off the site to have any say about it. The alibi, sure, he was applying pressure through those footholes. He got a couple of kills, but he couldn't stop the plant, and that's what really matters at the end of the day. Shout out to Filthy for being able to make the call and get it down. So, RentFree close in by 1 round. Still 3 to go, though. Still 3 in a row to bring us to overtime. That's going to be a tall task, especially with the next site being lockers. Once again, LG taking a whole lot of utility, a bulletproof cam down on the site. 3 gas canisters from Silent, triple C4s, the Goyo packs from Eddie, probably down on the site as well. Goo mines from Asian to slow down this clear. So much delay power for LG.
A lot of delay power, but one thing is missing that I kind of like to see, and that's those yokai drones, right? The Echo, we saw how potent that was for RentFree when they utilized it, how much it forced Luminosity to try to work their way around it to deal with those yokais early, but instead, Luminosity putting a bit more priority on 1, the top floor clear and the information denial, and 2, on allowing Asian to just run all over this map and do what he was able to do yesterday, collecting a lot of kills on the Legion. But RentFree, they're going to go direct here. At least that's what the Monty is screaming to me right now. And the fact that Twist is already down below in server trying to open up this wall and actually make that push. Butters collecting the first kill onto Asian, shutting down the Legion I just talked about. Well, that's a good sign for RentFree and exactly what they were looking for to start off this round.
And both Asian and Dexter not having nearly as hot of a day as in their debuts. But of course, you can't be the best every day of the week. So Asian finds himself in the dirt fairly early on. Now we see the Monty come into play. RentFree taking a page out of LG's book, trying to see if they can get that plant down. As the hatch opens above them, I believe that's Kixro trying to apply some pressure, if I'm not mistaken. Not quite sure. Eddie on a stare down right now with the castle, trying to hunt down the player in bottom square. It's Butters who gets destroyed by Eddie. And now RentFree, they gotta watch their back. The player who is in that position that Asian was in last time, no longer there. Max trying to get the plant down. C4 comes out, does not do any damage, and that's the last C4 for LG. Now completely relying on these gas canisters to keep the Monty off the plant.
Well, right now it's working. A good delay. That allows Eddie to get another kill onto Filthy and turn this one into the favor of Luminosity. With top blue no longer secure, Twist has to adapt to this, and Kixro, he can still try to hunt these players down. Maxily, pistol out, gets a kill. Dexter on the follow-up takes down Silent. Kixro is asleep over there. Twist takes care of him too. It's all up to Eddie. He's got no C4. He just got to run at these final 2 players, and Twist cleans them up after the bullets just could not penetrate the shield on the Monty. Great adaptation in the end, but a close one. RentFree staying alive, just barely.
And that should have been an LG round through and through. Sure, they lose Asian early, but that square retake from Eddie and Kixro was massive. That, in and of itself, should have won them the round. Eddie, 2 huge kills assisted by the castle. 1 onto the Finko watching in square, the other onto the top blue follow-up. You end up leaving the Monty alone trying to push site, and he kills Ferda? First of all, that Monty is alone. Second of all, how is Ferda in a position to get killed by said Monty? There was another player on site with him as well. And I guess maybe that discipline we saw from LG yesterday that we were praising them for in their second on-stream game has just been thrown out the window. Ferda dies. I mean, the next player tries to follow up, dies to the Zofia covering as she gets back down to site to help with the execute. The C4s all missed. The gas canisters, I mean, Silent died with them in pocket. Eddie leaves Kixrow alone to watch squares. He rotates back, but by the time he rotates, it's all over. Everyone from Luminosity losing their fights and pushing back against an attack that did not need to be pushed. So they'll try lockers again, Maxley on the Monty one more time, but this time, RentFree are likely going to be more vigilant about that bottom square retake. You won't catch them off guard like that again.
Luminosity are now the ones who have to make a change, though, right? I mean, it's them who need to find a way to stop this RentFree momentum from building. That's the point of the timeout, right? They're trying to ice RentFree a bit, find a way to take one of these next 2 rounds. They've got 2 chances to put this one away in regulation to get the full points out of this game. But they've already fumbled 2 of those other chances. This one is absolutely within reach for RentFree. They're going to bring out the Monty again. They're going to run with the same strategy that put them over the edge last time. The only change here is Butters bringing out the 0. An additional piece of intel for the team, trying to seal off these flanks and prevent that very thing you mentioned, Harrison, from happening again. Any sort of top square retake. Those cams now sent over towards kitchen, over towards open area to get an angle on any of those players up above.
And that's an improvement from last round. I mean, it's what Asian did when he was in this position, so he could actually act off of some sort of info while holding that flank. Now Butters has all that info. And like I said, LG aren't going to be able to go for that surprise retake. They're not going to be catching RentFree off guard because of those 0 cams, and because they're just, frankly, aware that that's the play for LG. Maxley takes a lick of damage, down to almost 50 as he attempts to go in for the plant, that initial attempt. There's a shield staring him in the face with a C4 just behind it. Now Kixrow, I believe the man who had damaged that Monty, is coming under fire from above. That's Butters now on the window before he skates off back to electrical. And this attack is at a standstill, trying to figure out what to do about this player in red because Max is so low. He's very susceptible to that C4.
He's actually going in all the way through this site, maybe hoping to bait out this C4, allow him to get some more intel before this push happens, and it's working. He did bait out a C4.
Oh, no.
The problem is he's very lit. One more tick of that smoke will down him. A nice little Finka boost will heal him back up just a touch, but RentFree, they are in a little bit of trouble here. They have a lot of avenues to take care of, and Asian still applying this pressure, but missing the headshot. That is a big kill for Dexter to secure. Ferda does respond with a kill onto Butters, and we're back in a 4v4 because of it.
Asian, not really needing to peek there, gives up his life, but like you said, at least there's a trade. My main concern is still Maxley's HP, but oh, look at this buck. Kixrow might not know. The noise is made, but he doesn't hear it. Filthy lands the headshot. Now Ferda distracted by above. Maxley getting the plant down. Silent dead again with gas canisters in hand. Eddie lands a beautiful shot on a Dexter, threading the needle. Ferda being buffed away by the flashbangs. Maxley's getting the plant down. Eddie can't do a damn thing about it. Now it's a post plant against a Monty. If Eddie and Ferda do not kill every single bit of this cover, they'll end up losing the round, and Filthy denies any attempt. 2 straight kills for him at the end of the round, a 3K in total, and LG dropped the ball once again.
Well, that round was all about adaptations, right? We saw a couple of changes from Luminosity, but with RentFree taking the round, let's focus on them for a moment, because they had a good bit of trouble, just 1 round to go, with those players up above an open area in kitchen. They won the round anyway, sure, but they gave them trouble. Those players were able to get a couple of kills onto the RentFree attackers. RentFree then had to do a bit of a retake up above, try to get those kills while also trying to get that bomb down. It wasn't easy. So RentFree, in an effort to change that, they changed up two major things: the presence of the Buck and the presence of the Zero. With Butters on those Argus cams, you could get a lot more intel as to what you were dealing with, and that could assist Filthy in how he positioned and how he utilized that skeleton key. Instead of pushing with the team, coming in from below and applying direct pressure, he was all the way up on that top floor, making sure that those defenders positioned in open area, who were a critical factor for Luminosity in the previous basement defense attempt, could not do a thing. He's the player that won them the round in the end by taking care of those players on the hatches. Gotta give it up to Filthy for that kind of adaptation.
Sometimes it's a well-played lurk that wins you rounds. Luminosity obviously very caught off guard, starting with Kickstro, and Filthy just continuing to roam around the map for free. And what was a hefty 6-2 lead for Luminosity is now delved into overtime territory. We could be seeing it. A 4-round comeback streak from RentFree, but don't want to curse him just yet. Still a lot of work to do in this round. They lost their open area attack previous attempt thanks to Eddie on the top floor, wasting a bit of time at getting 2 kills, silent supporting. They ended up going 1 for 3 on that top floor hold, but like I said, RentFree likely going to be prepared for that, and Eddie's not upstairs to get those kills. He's very quickly defaulted back to site.
Yeah, Luminosity not putting really any pressure on that top floor any longer. 60 seconds is all that they really wasted, and well, that's a big kill from Asian as he drops away, actually taking the fight with the Buck up above. A bold move from Asian, and while it may work for him, it doesn't work for Silent, who also wanted to get a bit aggressive, trying to open up that barricade where Dexter was keeping a watchful eye on. So now we're back in a 4v4. We hear a goo mine detonate, and Asian relocates as he knows there is some pressure being applied from Twist up above. But right now, this round has begun to slow down a bit. The vertical play, just getting these angles open, that's the focus now for RentFree.
Minute 10 down remaining. Eddie, I believe, out of Kiba barriers now. So won't be regenerating those anymore. He's just now a good gun on the map. Kickstro getting aggressive. Looks like he wall bangs Maxley there. I'm not sure if a little corner of that wall was open, but either way, beautiful shot to give his team the one-man advantage. Crunch time is going to start soon for RentFree. The main wall, quad wall, now being opened. Twist looking to just make his way on in. He'll spot the shoulder and land the shots. Kickstro goes down, back to even, 3-on-3. Asian's got the crossfire, but he's very low, and he'll have to be careful. In comes one. Butter spotted by Ferda and taken down. Trade comes in from Dexter. Plant attempt goes through. Twist gets it down. Asian and Ferda now stuck in the retake. One all the way behind that kitchen counter. It's going to be a tough shot for Ferda to land. Up pops Dexter. A triple kill on the round for him, and now it's all Asian. 1 versus 2 to hold off overtime. He can't land the proper headshot on Dexter, and the Iana will be able to get away. Still just ducking and darting between the bomb chassis. Twist lands the killing blow, and we go to overtime.
A 4-round comeback, and a comeback in the final round even, to put them over the edge. In round 12, RentFree, they were down a man. Didn't look like they were going to be able to get that bomb down, especially when we saw that jump in to the open area window fail. But somehow they just pushed their way in. And Dexter, we've talked about him a lot over the last 2 days, given his performance yesterday and given the roller coaster of a performance he has had today. Starting off hot, middle of this game going quite cold, and he's heating up again, and there is no better time. From 6 kills to 12 kills in just a few rounds, a couple kills in that round alone, to put his team over the edge and to send RentFree to overtime against all odds.
Yeah, what an incredible comeback it's been for this team. I was doubting them. I really thought the game was over for LG. And yet RentFree proved me wrong. Especially with Dexter heating up on the attack. We were criticizing him, saying that, you know, he only had 6 kills through the first 3 rounds and was relatively silent through the next, honestly, like 3 or 4. But in this comeback, he's been instrumental, especially that last round, forcing himself behind the kitchen counter, getting a triple. Now it's overtime. LG, luckily for them, get the boon of attack, though. It's been 2 4-2 attacking halves, 2 in a row. So LG, you know, we'd assume to be in the advantage just by the grace of side select.
They should have the advantage here, but RentFree, they have all of the momentum. I mean, they have won 4 rounds in a row, completely unanswered by Luminosity, despite a timeout taken in the middle of that comeback by Luminosity in an effort to stop the bleeding. But they haven't done that yet. So RentFree, with that confidence, likely to see a couple of early duels. I mean, Silent, he feels really pressured here. Not as pressured as it looks like, though, because nobody's actually on the other side swinging him. He was spooked by that yokai drone, but he didn't check the other angle. Didn't know that Filthy was pressuring him from stock, and a peek out the stock window will get him a wicked early kill. Dexter also finds the scoreboard again. Asian falls. It's a 3v5 with Luminosity fighting an uphill battle, so they're just going to decide to send it. They're not going to clear out this top floor anymore, just go straight on into the first floor, and Furta gets a kill.
Well, blindside Dexter getting that kill on Asian, knocking the Hibana off the board. Luckily, there's redundancy in terms of hard breach Kickthrow still with both those exothermic charges. That is if he lives long enough to use them. So Luminosity make a bit of a mid-round comeback, ensuring that the man control doesn't spiral too out of... the man advantage doesn't spiral too out of control. Now all that's left is a Buck, a Thatcher, and a Thermite. About a minute 12 remaining. RentFree still have at least... well, they probably still have 1 yokai drone. We saw Silent shoot one. The other is probably still on site. They got 3 gas canisters from Twist. Again, how many times have we seen this happen for RentFree's defense, where Luminosity shoves back the roam, and these 2 players are instrumental in keeping the plant attempt at bay. Kickthrow using 1 on the hatch, 1 on the default wall. We'll go ahead and open it up, and LG are going to have to try for this plant soon with only 45 seconds left.
And down a man, it's not going to be easy. And like you said, with 3 toxic smokes to delay the rest of the clock, they're going to have to time this plant extremely well. Kickthrow getting it on early enough, and that EMP denying the smoke grenade. That is extremely clutch from Furta. Finally, the smoke goes off, but it is too late. Essentially, Twist gets 0 use out of those toxic smokes. It's going to have to be a good old-fashioned retake that Eddie is looking to deny from above. He takes 1 player completely unaware. Can he find 2? Yes, he can. Can he go for 3? Got it. There's a triple for Eddie. It's all up to Twist, and he can do nothing against Furta and the coverage that is well provided by Luminosity. A 3v5 to a 3v4 to a 3v0 as Luminosity change it up, flip the script, and defy their odds in their own right.
So remember when I said those EMPs could be used to stop the smoke canister? Them being strung together. Twist does not want to suffer the same mistake, be afraid of those EMPs, and end up losing plant control because he doesn't send out a gas canister. So he tries to do the opposite. He sends one out. But again, those stacked EMPs, you could hear him desperately clicking the trigger on the gas. It would not go. Eventually, you have to have Butters come in, shoot the gas canister so Twist can send out another, but it was far too late. That double play, again, the plant attempt, the EMPs, it's so creative from LG, and it works wonders. Both Furta and Eddie getting all 3 kills in that round. Furta leading it off, Eddie getting all 3 players trying to retake upstairs, and then Furta closing, sandwiching the round. Beautiful stuff from LG. I really thought there that they were going to be in a heap of trouble, especially in that 3v5, but Eddie and Furta really lighting it up. Kickthrow getting that bomb down. And now it's 7-6 Luminosity. Now RentFree, they get to go back on their attack as well. We could very well see max overtime here. Luminosity defending over towards, I believe that's open area yet again, which they, you know, it was close. It wasn't perfect, but it was close.
They're 1-1 on this site. The second defensive round, when they switched halves, they were able to take it here, but when they went back in around number 12, it did not go their way.
I just realized
hoping to find some of that round 8 energy here by denying this top floor entry. It'll be Dexter to make the first move. He knows someone's in elevator, and well, I guess he can line them both up. Asian gifts him a kill, and Kickstro falls right behind as he tries to secure that trade. Really does feel like we're going to all 15, Harrison, unless Luminosity can go back-to-back 3v5 comeback wins.
Poorly timed from Asian. Dexter seemed like he was aware of that double play. I don't know how Eddie just died, but Butter swings in, domes him. Filthy follows it up on Silent. Now Ferd is alone in a 1 versus 5. He gets 1 on Dexter, but I don't know if that'll be enough. He's got the MP5K, SMG-11 combo, so 2 automatic weapons at his side. Zofia of Butters is starting to creep in. He's got a ping on the barricade. They'll finally drone out Ferda. Now they know exactly where he is. He loses the fight to Filthy. And there it is. Max overtime, Jonah, because LG really just gave bodies up on the top floor.
Yeah, 2 bodies to the very same player. Dexter, who's made that entry on the Ana pretty much every single round, right? And Luminosity, who have tried to contest that entry almost every single round. This time, yeah, not so good. That's one way of putting it. We saw Asian try to maybe surprise Dexter by swinging him from top main while Dexter was preoccupied with the player stuck in elevator. But, I mean, it's the same angle, and Dexter holding it, quick enough reaction time to not only take care of Asian, but take care of the other player right as well. So, that easy for Dexter as he now finds his 15th kill. And RentFree, Luminosity, all tied up at 7, going the distance. Round 15 on our hands, technically favoring Luminosity, given that this has been a heavily attacker-favored bank. And it's RentFree's chance now to change it up and try to secure a couple or just 1 round win. It's going to be open area and kitchen again for them. We've seen this on 2 separate occasions, and like it did for Luminosity, it has gone 1 for 1.
The thing I'm kind of concerned about is when they lost this round, it was terrible. Maxley put him in a blender. Really poor communication across the board. Poor info gathering from LG across the board. The round was not great. The round they won was chaotic. It was messy. It looked like it could go either way up until those final moments. So we have not had a convincing win from LG on this site yet. RentFree can just clean up. Make sure that in that latter half of the round when LG's chaos comes through on the site, if they can just hold on, then that's an 8-7 win for them. LG is starting to clear this top floor. Eddie opening up those windows. Silent watching the marble stairs from the skylight. Asian wrapping around, I believe, to assist with the clear as well. And they've got to go up against the raid boss. Dexter went from 6-6 to now 15-13.
Well, what Silent's doing here actually makes some sort of sense, right? Because he's trying to deny the rotation. If there is enough pressure from Luminosity on the top floor, the reasonable change from RentFree as Twist picks up 1 is to rotate off. Silent is hoping to deny that very rotation. The problem is the pressure from Luminosity isn't enough. They're not getting kills, and as Silent finally tries to step up and work his way in the building, he gets quickly taken care of. Again, it's a 3v5 for Luminosity, an uphill battle from this point forth.
No refrag. RentFree, after that kill from Filthy, he got out of there. Dexter right ahead of him. They know they've got 2 kills. They've wasted a minute and a half. They don't need to stay upstairs and give LG these opportunities to take the man count back. Filthy, the lowest HP member of the defense, is the farthest afield, all the way by the basement, where he can possibly play for a C4 from below through one of those hatches if the plant spot, is within range. Asian desperately performing vertical destruction, trying to fish out a kill, but there's nothing for him to find. Kicksrow wanting to open the breaches, but there's jammers on the wall. He can do nothing with those ace charges. Nothing from LG is working right now. They cannot grab a solid foothold. RentFree are doing an incredible job of suffocating their possibilities. Ferda goes down to Maxley. Kicksrow has to drop this hatch as Dexter cuts down his only teammate. He'll end up going towards the main stairs instead. 20 seconds left. Filthy shuts him down. It's a flawless round for RentFree to clean up, and they take the win 8-7.
Well, Luminosity get 1 point out of this game, but that is it. after botching a 6-2 lead and allowing RentFree to make a 4-round comeback. It is, of course, going to be RentFree at the top. An 8-7 victory, squeaking it out. And, I mean, I know our predictions were a bit mixed, and this game really could have gone either way. So regardless of which you predicted, regardless of anybody, whoever you thought was going to win, I'll say, honestly, you're right. It was just so happened that Luminosity could not close it out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, they really should have won. They had plenty of opportunities to, and RentFree just kept pulling out round after round, really showing that despite being a new team, they've still got that experience from Butters and Filthy. I mean, Twist has been playing for a while as well. I think Max and Dexter are really the newest to comp, and technically the newest to T2, and showing that, despite being our new inaugural team, they still have the mental fortitude, they still have the depth to keep it on going. LG, that's a chalker for sure. I mean, again, a 6-2 lead. You end up losing 7-8. That's got to sting. Hopefully it brings them back to the drawing board, gets them back on track, because that discipline we saw yesterday was not here on Bank. But until next time, we're going to go back to the analyst desk to digest this game, because this was a bar burner.
Tanner, I'll start with you. This was a matchup. I think all the credit goes to RentFree, because you know what? Although it slipped out of the hands of Luminosity, I really don't think they played poorly. They entertained us. They had a great matchup. It's just all of a sudden RentFree found this extra energy. They just dug in. They had that timeout, and they came back to take a really tough match.
Absolutely. It was one of these games that's just like you love to watch. This is why we watch Siege, is for games like this. What an absolute great show of leadership coming out from RentFree, to have that composure, that champion mentality, to go, look, all right, 6-2, we can't change that. We can only affect what's inside our control. That's exactly what they did here. They took it one round at a time, and they called a timeout there. I believe it was on right after round 7. They called a timeout. It was 5-2, and they still lost the next round. But even then, they're just like, all right, guys, just one round at a time. And they took it nice and simple. Very good piecemeal, really good attack half. I got to commend Dexter and Filthy on their attack halves, because it was absolutely nasty.
I'm not going to lie. I had it written down in my book. When they won round 9, I was like, this is comeback round happening right now. I didn't actually think it, and then it happened. I'm just surprised. But Cookies, one of the themes we talked about going into this matchup would be, can either team actually play as a team outside of those star rookies? Now, Asian had a bit of a lackluster game. Dexter had a great game, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the answer was yes for both teams. They both played despite what their rookies could or couldn't do.
I think it's the things they did, I guess, like you said, to work around it. The Montaigne for RentFree.
Mhm.
When Dexter finished really well, but when Dexter was kind of starting a little slow,
Yeah.
he's negative most of the game, actually. It was the Montaigne, actually, in their attack half, played by Maxley. They played off that Montaigne exceptionally well. Even in rounds where there was actually man disadvantage, they still climbed back and won it off the backs of the 6th man of the year, or AKA starter. You know, it's at this point, also my critical point where I said Twist should start. I want to just remind you all, Twist should remain the starter for this team. He was technically benched for Adapt, but I think Twist earned his starting spot back. And yes, I liked how he played. I liked how they played around the Montaigne in their attack half. And that's how you play around Dexter not playing well. You have other guys step up and you take advantage of this massive operator pool that this game offers. You bring out the shields, even though Maxley is not a shield player. Like, he just said, you know what, I'm going to help my team today because I kind of stunk on my defensive half. His defensive half was terrible because I hyped up him and Twist, but between him and Twist, they were a little miscommunicative on their smokes and the echo drones and whatnot. LG was able to get some plants down that way and establish a lead, but we brought it back.
Now, we'll get the stats in just a second, but Tanner, obviously we have this matchup where you've had Twist as a supposed sub, but things have been going really well. Is there a weird feeling like, man, I don't want to mess with this? Like, we've been good, we've had something rolling, but what are your thoughts on changing up a team when things are going well?
I mean, honestly, like, adult decision as a coach, I wouldn't want to change it. Like, I wouldn't change it. You're 3-0. You have 9 points, and you just beat out the best team from stage 1. I wouldn't change it. And it sucks because I really like Adapt. I'm sure they probably will, because that's kind of how Siege works. But in a real
Mhm.
sports world, a coach would be like, it's yours until you lose the position. And they haven't. There's no reason in my mind that he should be losing the position. Now, granted, we are not behind the scenes. We don't see the coordination, the communication that's going on, but they're playing really, really well, cohesive as a unit. That was a team win coming out from the side of Rent Free. It was good leadership and veteran core leadership coming out from Filthy and Butters. And then on top of that, Dexter showing up there at the end. It was just such a great performance. I'm so happy I got to watch that game.
Mhm.
It was probably the game of the weekend for me.
Well,
And we're
talking
not
about
even
good
done.
performances, it wasn't just necessarily good performances overall, but two people that I'd really like to point out, Filthy on the side of Rent Free and then Eddie on the side of Luminosity. These were guys that didn't start off too well, but they definitely had an upward trend. And I think it's actually supposed to be, I think Asian was the one with the lower score line because Eddie trended upward. Asian was something like 6. I think Asian was the 5 and 10. I'm not sure, but yeah, cookies.
Yes. Nonetheless, you got to commend Filthy as well. The rounds where he was like, I think he was on Buck and he just kind of ran through, slicing through. It looked like 2019 Filthy. It looked like Filthy before all the pro league stress set in. He looked fresh. He looked like he had some hip in his hop, and it's good to see. It's really
You
good
love
to
to
see.
see it.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, upward over those long courses of the game, Tanner, you as a former coach, don't you just love it when you can see your players not kind of get in their own heads and they can actually say, you know what, maybe we don't start off so hot, but we find a way to just keep improving. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Like as a coach, if one of my teams pulled this off, which it happened many times while I was on Wichita and while I was on Ape, like you're just proud, like the
Mm-hmm.
composure to just stay dialed in, to not let the past affect you. Like you can't change the past. You can only accept what's inside of your control, which is the present round, and to just dial in round after round, not fucking worrying, not putting that pressure on yourself, and just kind of going. Like that's the sort of stuff that great teams are made of. Those are the teams that win
Mm-hmm.
championships. They find a way to win. We say this all the time. Good teams find a way to win, and that's how you do it. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
mentality you need to have. And I just wish more Challenger League teams were able to exemplify that kind of leadership.
Well, let's talk about mentality to Butters right now because this is a huge comeback win. I got to find out what was going through their heads. Butters, big win for you guys. Were you stressing around the 6-2 mark at all?
I mean, we were just making a lot of mistakes. We had to
Mm-hmm.
time out. After the timeout, we were just dialed. Our mentalities don't really get chalked. I mean, we have the drive through the full game. It happened yesterday off stream. We were down 5-3, won every single round after that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes you just need a timeout. Everybody to get their minds in check. Nobody really
Mm-hmm.
tilts, but I'm glad we can keep our composure.
Now, one of the things that we discussed on the desk beforehand, because it was a nice little theme between both teams with those new big young players, Dexter for you guys, Asian for the other team. Now, Dexter did have a good game in the end, but we were wondering, it took more than just Dexter. You guys, as a team, are playing well.
Yeah. I don't know. Like me and Filthy kind of went down on our gameplay because we're guiding these young guns now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like a flashy player anymore. We're not getting like fragging like crazy, all that stuff. But you throw a drone in front of Dexter and he's communicating, he's just gonna be firing off. These young guns are just crazy. Like I gotta
Yeah.
make the move and start playing a little bit more supportive and tell
Mm-hmm.
them what to do and all this stuff. And I like it a lot because I feel like I'm growing as a player a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But this team is all around like really, really good and nobody tilts, nobody gets mad, nobody throws blames. It's just really good vibes on this team.
Mm-hmm. And just before I let you go, one last quick question. It's the first 2 play days of this stage. How did you feel your Saturday and Sunday have been?
It's been really good actually. I'm happy. I mean, it would have been better to get 3 points, but I'm glad we could stay in the game and give the people a good game to watch. I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have no doubt there's more good games to come. Thanks a lot, Butters. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.
Can I just say
Tanner,
one thing? Can I just
it-
say one thing?
yeah.
I used to coach Butters. And I remember when he was a young gunner and he was just coming up in the league and him being like that peppy, like what we're seeing from Dexter right now, like that put the drone in front of him and just frag. I just love to see that growth that I'm coming from Butters himself to be in that more mature role, to be able to take a step back and just kind of, see the bigger
Mm-hmm.
picture and enable his team. That's something that, when he was on Tempo Storm on Two Face, I didn't really see a whole lot of that. And I'm really liking that kind of development and that character coming out of Butters. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead, Brim.
Well, I was going to continue your own words, that championship mentality. Let's see if it progresses. It's still early, but man, things are looking bright for Rent Free that either they can charge into games and win them, or even come back. They seem very versatile. Okay. One match down to go. It feels like we've been here all day, and I'm not complaining. That was amazing. But we've got 4 more to go today. We're going to flip to a quick break, and when we come back, we've got One Shot taking on LSR.